Hello, guys, and welcome to the Man About Life podcast. My name is Stephen. Thank you for joining me today. Now, I realise, of course, that there is a lot in the news about a certain virus beginning with a C, which I am not going to talk about directly because I think there are lots of people already talking about this and lots of stuff in the press and online, and it's just completely bonkers the way that it's all gone. Don't even get me started about shopping, and I'm going to do an episode on that because I think that's probably quite an important subject to talk about. But I'm not going to be talking about the virus itself or anything like that, so don't worry about that. This is not related to it directly, but there is something technology-wise, which of course this podcast is about, which I wanted to draw to your attention for all those people who are self-isolating, because there are lots of people out there who are, for various reasons, having to self-isolate. But before I get onto that, I just want you to know that there are lots of people out there who are doing podcasts and who are continuing to create content, even though they are self-isolating, because of course they can do it at home and they can just broadcast their content to the masses. There are lots of people out there who are doing that, and they're doing a huge amount of good work out there. So if you are at home and you have not a lot going on, if you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, why not check out some of the podcasts that are out there? There are numbers of them, huge numbers of them, and they're all really, really good. I really recommend that you have a look on there. On Twitter, there are loads of podcasts, people tweeting all kinds of things about their content. Check out a few podcasts, and you never know, you might come across your new favourite that you become hooked on and maybe binge listen to. So don't forget, check out Twitter, go and have a look, see what podcasts are out there, and maybe get yourself into listening to a few. Maybe you've never done it before. There are a lot of good things out there going on, and not all of it is talking about this virus beginning with C. There are lots of other good content out there that have nothing related to it whatsoever. So today, I wanted to talk about streaming. Now, of course, a lot of people are at home at the moment, and a lot of people are using the internet. Either they're doing it for their work, or they're doing it because they haven't got anything else to do, and they're at home and they're watching television, or they decided they're going to have a movie day and stream some movies, things like that, which of course directly puts a strain on the broadband services, because obviously the more people who are using the broadband systems, the more load there is onto the available space, the available broadband capacity, and that can then affect knock-on effects on other things. So certain companies have decided to try and do something about this to try and stop problems from being created in the first place. Amazon and Apple are just two of the big companies who have decided to reduce their streaming quality to lessen broadband strain in Europe. Now, at the moment, this is just in Europe. They're not doing this to any other country, although they are monitoring other countries like the US as well. And their idea behind it is that to prevent, obviously, the huge overload on the broadband system, they have decided to lower their bit rate on their streams, so that people can still watch a decent quality picture, but it's not drawing so much bandwidth from the internet, which of course is something that will get drastically slower and slower the more people have to come online to work and everything else. So Amazon, let's say Amazon and Apple are the two that have decided to do this. Now, Apple have been commended in the past for the high bit rate they have on their streams, but of course that has now had to be reduced. So if you were used to a certain perhaps type of quality from Apple and you've noticed it's got a bit lower lately, that is a reason why, especially if you live in Europe, because they are trying to still entertain and still provide the service that they want to provide, but not have such a strain on the broadband system. I know that YouTube and Twitch are also two other companies who have been looking at doing this, and I know that YouTube are doing it. So if you are one of those people that looks a lot of online streaming services, if you look at YouTube quite a lot, or if you do a lot of gaming online, if you're a gamer and you record lots of gameplay for YouTube and Twitch, then you may notice that maybe uploads are slightly slower than they have been, even though you've got a very vast internet. It could be that your playback is not as good a quality as it has been previously, because they are lowering the bandwidth and the bitrate. So be prepared for that. And also, but that doesn't mean that anything's going to go wrong or that anything is particularly bad about what you're getting. It just means that the quality, and it shouldn't necessarily be noticeable, but the quality is going to be reduced, because obviously they have to make sure that everyone's going to get an opportunity to get online. Of course, if you're working online, you do a lot of work on the internet and a lot of work on your laptops and things like that, and you're having to work from home, that increase is going to happen, and hopefully it won't be quite as bad as it could be if everyone was just ramping things up to the maximum. that will also have a knock-on effect and cause slowing of broadband, even for people who are on fibre, like I am myself. But of course, there is a silver lining there, and that is the fact that there are lots of companies out there now who are offering services for free for certain people because they're at home, especially for kids. Lots of kids' resources are now free, and I'm going to be going through a few of those in the next episode coming up. So watch out for those. I'm going to be giving you some tips and some ideas of some things that have now become free, especially for your kids, to listen to and to participate in, which is going to be good for them. Hopefully, this is going to be something that's going to be fairly temporary. I mean, hopefully the situation as it is will improve, and it won't go on for too much longer. But at least you know that your favourite streaming service will still be available, even if it is perhaps slightly lower quality than it has been in the past. The thing to remember, if you are, of course, in this situation, is to try and be aware of what you're downloading and what you're actually watching. So if you have a choice of what particular stream you want to use, or if you have a choice of what particular thing you want to watch, then maybe you want to do that without using the internet. So a lot of people, I think, are now going to be going back to the Blu-rays and the DVDs and perhaps even the VHS tapes. I've got loads of those in the loft, so I could go back to them. Looking at those rather than going on the internet, especially if you have a very poor internet connection, very poor download speeds, then you could be suffering as a result of that. So have a look at the alternatives. If you think that your broadband is really slow, or if you're having a torrid time, if you're getting loads of buffering issues going on, perhaps look at some of the alternatives. Perhaps go and check out your stash of DVDs or Blu-rays and see if there's anything that you can watch instead, because you won't get any interruptions with that, and you can still get entertainment. Especially good for the kids, because if it starts buffering and there starts getting long gaps in between the show, then they're going to get bored, and then you know what happens then. Well, hell can break loose. And that's just the thing that's going on at the moment. Hopefully, I say the situation will improve. If any other companies join this bandwidth or bit rate limiting, then I will let you know. Thank you for joining me for today. I hope that you're going to have a good day out there, and you can contact me on Twitter, ManAboutLifePod, if you want to get hold of me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had any issues with streaming services, or if you've had any problems with your broadband. And if you've come across any other sites that you think are limiting their bitrate, then let me know. Until the next time, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.